welcome to this, and this is, as the title says, another question and answer video. 2 in a row. How about that? Basically, I don't like doing show reviews for the most part, so Raw didn't get a review. Nothing too wonderful on Raw, to be honest. There's a couple things, I guess, but yeah, it was okay. And that's pretty much it. I was planning on doing a review for the first NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase, the new ones, because they've already put it up on their website. So I was planning on doing that, and they apparently, I don't know, maybe it was my computer or something, but I couldn't get the last 10 minutes to play, so it stopped with about 10 minutes left. So yeah, that didn't exactly work. So we'll have to wait and see on that, and because I would like to review it since not everyone gets to see it. And but from what I saw, it was okay about what we got last time, with a couple of other things. So we'll have to see how that goes. But let's get started here with some questions, and let us begin. You always seem kind of down on Kurt Angle. What is it about Kurt Angle that you dislike? Because in my opinion, he's carried TNA on his back for the last 2 years. TNA was awesome before Angle came, but obviously the top talents haven't been used as well since then, and that's my problem right there. Angle, in my opinion, just always seems to make the best out of a bad situation. Sometimes Joe isn't able to do that. You can't really blame Joe's lack of buzz on Angle, in my opinion. It's just a combination of things. I would agree with that. My thing is it's not Kurt Angle. It's more of the way Kurt Angle was used. Basically, Kurt Angle was brought in, and then everyone else took a back seat. I agree. Kurt Angle has pretty much done everything you can ask of him. The only thing I'm really down as far as Kurt Angle is I definitely think you can just tell in interviews and even when he's on the mic that there's definitely still stuff not right with him. Even though he still goes out there and puts on really good matches and great matches at times, there's still stuff not right with him, and that's my big thing. So. But as far as how he's used, that's more of creative and not so much him. I would agree with that. But what I'm down on him is not so much that as just him and how he's taking care of himself, I guess would be the best way to put it. How do you think ROH's roster is going into the new HDNet show compared to ECW's roster when it debuted in TNA? Will ROH's TV deal with TNA be more successful than ECW's TV deal, in your opinion? Probably not ratings-wise, because HDNet doesn't have the viewership that's even TNT had back, or TNN had back in the day. But like I said, their TV deal is going to hinge, in my opinion, on the fact of if they have it streamed on the internet. They have to have it streamed on the internet, or it will not be successful. I firmly believe that. I strongly believe that, and hopefully they do that, because I think it's something that has to be done. As far as the roster, there's now rumors, as I'm making this, I read tonight, that they are looking into bringing in, they've already announced that at least for one show they're going to bring in D'Lo Brown. Apparently now they're talking about bringing in Val Venus as well. Both of those guys I completely agree with. I think one thing that I would say is lacking on ROH's roster are good, long-time veterans and guys that are at least names that people know. As long as they are used correctly, and what I mean by correctly is to put over the young talent and not in the same way that, TNA is done, where it's basically, we're going to bring in these guys, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work as well because you're putting them over the young talent. I think if ROH's talent goes over them and you use them to make guys, then it's successful. And I think that if they do that and they keep bringing in guys like it looks like they're going to, I definitely think they need to bring in some of the other guys that WWE has released as of late. Just because I think that you had guys, Kenny Dykstra being one. That was just a good, and Kevin Thorne being the other one, that are both good-sized guys, which are something that, of course, Ring of Honor doesn't have a lot of either, which I think would be good for them as well. But there is that. In 5 years, do you think Bryan Danielson will be as good as he is now, or do you think he will become the next Kurt Angle, meaning he will have his glory days, but eventually he will break down and some big shot like Bryan Danielson will take his place. Hopefully you know where I'm coming from this. I don't think so, and here's why. Because unlike Kurt Angle, the things that people don't like about Kurt Angle's matches are the same things that they haven't liked about Kurt Angle's matches since he started. And that has to do with just the way his matches are kind of put together, I guess would be the best way to put it. And he does take crazy and insane chances and bumps. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's definitely something that, you know, down the road has affected his career, I would say. Bryan Danielson doesn't really do that. He wrestles more of a, I wouldn't call it complete, because he does wrestle a stiff style at times, but a lot of times he does wrestle a safer style than Kurt Angle, I would probably say, has in the past. And so I think Bryan Danielson will probably be good for longer, but you're always going to have a guy come along like that. The same thing happened to Ric Flair. You know, a lot of people thought that Ric Flair had lost it back in '93, I guess, when I guess it was 93 or 94 when he took on Vader, and that match right there showed that Ric Flair still had it. So it's just one of those things that happens in wrestling. People are always looking for the, you know, they get bored with a guy and they're looking for the next guy to kind of latch onto. So that just kind of happens. I was wondering if you think Roderick Strong will ever win the ROH Championship, and if not, why? He might at some point. I don't see it in the near future. He just doesn't have the charisma for it, to be honest. Simple answer. Hey, Truthslayer, do you follow Chikara, and if so, what is your opinion on it? Yes, I've talked about this before. I do follow Chikara. Probably not as much as I do other things. And to be honest, Chikara is something you probably have to follow a little bit more regularly than, say, I would even say Ring of Honor, just because of the storylines and the characters. More to do with the characters, even more than the storylines. But, you know, I do like Chikara. It's not for everybody. I've said that before. But if you like it and you want to see something different, I would definitely say it is the place to check out, as I think it's fun. And to be completely honest, if there was a way for me to go, I would actually go to the Trios tournament, the King of Trios tournament, which is, after watching last year's tournament, which I had an absolute ball watching, and I loved every minute of it, even with some of the crazy stuff I've ever seen happen, and I still absolutely loved it and was just dying laughing. It was completely entertaining. I definitely would love to go this year as well, but just won't be able to, so there you go. If Undertaker would lose at this WrestleMania, who do you think is the best choice for him to lose to, in your opinion? Well, since I want to see him take on Shawn Michaels at this WrestleMania, I would have no problem with Shawn Michaels beating him. I know a lot of people will say, well, you just ruined it because you should have a young guy beat him so that the young guy can get kind of the push off of him winning at WrestleMania, you know, beating Undertaker's streak. I've never bought into the fact that that's going to leapfrog a guy into superstardom. I've never bought into that. I don't think fans... I think fans care about the streak as long as Undertaker has it. I don't think they care as much as they're not. I don't think they're going to care about the guy who beats him. Let me put it that way. I think they care more about the fact of Undertaker having it. So there you go. If you have seen it, what are your thoughts on the A&E special, The Unreal History of Professional Wrestling? I actually really enjoy it. It's not the most accurate documentary thing there has ever been on pro wrestling, but it is still very good, and it's a very good, I would say, outline of pro wrestling and a very good overview of the history of pro wrestling, because they do, I mean, they literally talk about probably, I think they really get in depth probably about the mid-50s on upwards through the 80s, and they talk about a lot of things, and they go over a lot of stuff, so there's a lot of stuff they can't really get in depth to. Some things they don't get right, but it's not anything that's too overly major, but it's still very good. I think it's it's something good just to get a good overview of pro wrestling history, I would say. It seems to me like recent WrestleManias are being booked almost in a checklist manner in recent years. Cena and Triple H in the title matches, a main event caliber Shawn Michaels match, Taker streak on the line, a celebrity match, a diva match, and Money in the Bank. I feel like I'm almost seeing a lot of the same things every year. Do you feel the same way? Probably. I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of have a formula and they've kind of gotten comfortable in that formula and so we're not going to see them deviate too much from it until they feel like they have to. So there's probably some truth to that. I mean, I didn't think about it until you posted it, but yeah, because we're gonna see, you know, Cena defend the title. We'll probably see Triple H defend the title. I would probably, you know, to me, I think we're gonna see Triple H versus Orton. I really think they're leading towards that especially after tonight's Raw. And so, yeah, I definitely think that's probably where we're going. So there you go. Do you think somewhere down the line, it would be smarter for TNA to have an all X Division pay-per-view? That way, TNA's X Division would be restored and look strong division for the company. I don't know if that one thing would restore it, but I have often said I think that Destination X should be a pay-per-view just for the X Division and particularly for the World X Cup, and it should just take place on that pay-per-view. I think you try it once, you see if it works. If it works, that's what you do with it, because I do think that would work, and it would be something different. It would give uniqueness to that pay-per-view, and you do need to give pay-per-views some uniqueness. I recently listened to the Jim Cornette shoot interview, his history in the business one, where he talked about how in the old days wrestlers would call everything in the ring, and only the finish would be planned. Do you feel that wrestling nowadays is hindered by matches being over-scripted? I see so many matches where something goes wrong and the guys look lost and confused because they don't know how to improvise. I would agree with that. I think everything in pro wrestling is a bit over-scripted. I think even guys' promos are over-scripted to a degree. Now, you've had guys that, I mean, Jim Cornette kind of, I know what you're talking about. It used to be guys would do things on the fly, but you have to remember back then you might have had 3 or 4 spots in the whole match a lot of times, where, you know, nowadays you have a lot more, and so you need a good blend of that. I do think that you can go out there with a scripted match and it work, but I think the thing is that when something does go wrong, you just have to go with it. I think the Japanese stars are much better at that. Of if something goes wrong, they just go with it, and you know, and even the announcers are good at, you know, just covering it up and going, oh, you know, whatever. So there you go. There. Hey, Truth. In 2008, how much money did you spend on TNA Shop? Let's see. TNA Shop would have been, probably about $150, I think. The WWE Shop, probably about $100. And shoproh.com, and the ROH store. On ROH, it was probably somewhere. It's probably, let's see, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I spent $175 on ROH. No, it's probably over 200. Yeah, it's probably over 200. 200, and I spent more. I know I spent more on TNA because it was 100. Probably spent about 200 on both ROH and TNA, and then probably about 100 on WWE. What are your thoughts on the decline of purchases on the official company shop products? I think that simply has to do with the economy, and then I think you have to look at each company different. I think with WWE, it's simply the economy. I think you go to TNA, I think it's the economy. I think it's the fact that the site isn't very good, and that their prices are not competitive with what other people, you know. You can go to Amazon and usually gets their stuff cheaper, and usually I believe even now, even though they kind of fixed the shipping where it's not as ridiculous as it once was, but it's still kind of And I think you can still go to Amazon, Best Buy, places like that, and you can get their stuff cheaper, so why wouldn't you do that? And ROH, ROH is ROH. Their biggest problem is not so much people buying stuff from other places as much as it is people downloading stuff from other places. That's their biggest problem. So there you go there. If you've heard, I'm sure you've heard of the ending of the ROH show in Edison. Yes, I've had 1 billion times. There was a time limit draw with the title match between Nigel McGuinness and Black, which was 11 minutes short of the original time limit of 60 minutes. Yes. This was a very low way to end the show, and then such a fabulous match, in my opinion. With me actually being there, it was disappointing, and the crowd was very hostile. Your thoughts? I've heard about this. You know, this isn't the first time this has happened. I think a lot of people are overreacting about this. What people are really overreacting about are the run-ins. There was a lot of run-ins on this match, too. And I haven't seen the match, so I can't really comment on it. But it's not the first time that a match has gone short. But apparently it was a mess-up. I don't know whose mess-up it was. But somebody messed something up somewhere, so it went short. To be honest, this has happened lots of times before. A lot of people have never noticed. It happens with the Royal Rumble a lot, where the intervals will go. They'll say there'd be a minute, and then they get to a point because they're running short, and it winds up being like 45, 50 seconds, and so the Rumble ends up being short. This is not the first time something like this has happened. It's happened before. It'll happen again. I do agree. If you were paying attention to your watch, and you knew it was when it went short, it was probably not a good thing. But everyone said the match was really good. Other than that, so I'll have to see it and then give you my thoughts. But I it's sucky, but at the same time, it's not the first time I've ever seen that happen, so it's kind of, I'm indifferent about it, I guess you could say. Hey, Truthslayer, I know a lot of us tend to gripe about Triple H, but there are those who defend him, even though sometimes they have good points. Do you think that these people are just making excuses for him because they're huge fans, or because they think we have no clue what we're talking about because we don't work for the company, etc.? I would say a little bit of both. I think part of it is because I do think some people take their Triple H hate a little too far, and such as he would never be he shouldn't be in the main event spotlight at all. I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that. I don't think anyone with any common sense would agree with that. But at the same time, I think a lot of people don't get what people don't like about it as well, so they don't understand it. There's a lot of things that go into it, and I think I think there are people that like Triple H and bring up very good points. There are people that don't like Triple H and bring up very good points. And so I think that what you have to do is you have to get kind of a consistency about the fact that of what the problem is, because a lot of people that do like Triple H do point out that there's definitely a problem, but they say that it's nothing new, and so the people are simply overreacting over it. So there you go. What was your favorite stable in ROH history, and what do you think of the Special K stable? I was never big on them. My favorite stable was Generation Next. However, I would say this. The stable I would love to see be brought back would be the Rottweilers. So, figure that out. Hey, Truthslayer, as you've said before in your videos, the wrestling business has left Vince and gone in a new place, which I completely agree with. But what I don't understand is where it has gone and what Vince has to do to catch up with it. I know there are some people that would argue that ROH is where the business is at right now, but I don't see that much difference from ROH, from WWE, from it and WWE and TNA. Other than it being more fast-paced, and the fact that the storylines make a little bit more sense, I would say that. And it's not. The thing is WWE and TNA still both try to do shock television and try to do and train wreck television instead of trying to do things that make sense. And I think that is what the problem is. I think if you went back to old style booking with new style, with a faster paced matches or a little bit more physical matches, I think it would work a lot better. I think people would be into it more, and I think that is the biggest problem. I think and like the question before, I think things are too scripted, particularly in the WWE. Not so much in TNA, but I definitely think they're too scripted in WWE, and I think that takes away from it as well. So there you go. But I definitely think that to me, that's the problem, is that things have to start making more sense, and that they're not making sense. and that the wrestling has to be better, and we have to see newer stars. I think that's the other thing. You have to continually, have newer faces, and I just think that that's, I think the WWE is still stuck back in the mid-90s in their mindset on how to do things, and I think that while that was successful, yes, people have moved past that now to wanting something else, and particularly with MMA growing in popularity, you're going to have to, do something else. So there you go. Hey Truth, do you think Magnum TA would have been as big as Hulk if he did not get hurt? I don't know about as big as Hulk Hogan, but I definitely think he would have been huge if that was not the case. He definitely had the look. He definitely was good enough in the ring. But you never know. I wouldn't say as big as Hulk Hogan, but he definitely would have probably been as big as Sting. So I would definitely say that. That is it for this. As always, if you have a question you would like me to answer, send it to my inbox here on YouTube, and I will answer it. The only thing I ask is that you keep it as short as possible, and you keep it to one question, and that should be it. Tomorrow, I'm not too sure what I do. I might do one of these, but it might be more MMA based. Just warning everybody. And other than that, I'm out. Have a good one.